Welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with your host, Dr. Kate. This is where your journey to burnout recovery starts. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like work has become unmanageable? Join me and my guests for open and honest conversations about burnout recovery from the comfort of the front porch. I am here to help you build your resilience and prepare you for burnout in a whole new way through a variety of perspectives. Move past the idea that burnout can only be addressed by avoidance and work to integrate recovery into your daily life. Relax, take a breath. The From Burnout to Recovery show starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the From Burnout to Recovery show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio and member of the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group. I am your host, Dr. Kate, and I am, of course, always excited to welcome you to the show and excited to have you here with us today. Remember that as you are enjoying the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to download the KS Media Group app where you can find me and all the world's best influencers. Today, we are going to be joined by our guest, Susan Axelrod, and I have really been looking forward to this conversation. Now, she's told me a little bit about her story with burnout, but not too much. So I am excited to learn more with you, dear listeners, about her burnout and her journey to recovery. Confidence coach Susan Axelrod helps women rise with her whole life approach to intuitive business. A woman's intuition is not just a phrase. Susan helps women in business for themselves find their intuition space and get confident about service and structure and grow the bottom line. Confidence life coaching is not just a business name for Susan. It is her true purpose. She spent more than a decade learning about and then creating her own online business and unabashedly shares her crowning achievements and failures to help women rise in confidence. Susan, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. I love the part where I unabashedly share both crowning achievements and failures, which is true.
Both are incredibly important. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Susan, as we ask each of our guests and to get us started for our conversation today, tell us a little bit about you, about your burnout and your journey to recovery.
Well, as with most people, I suspect it's been a long journey. Mm-hmm. Along the way, one of the pivotal points that changed everything was the day that I got up, got dressed in what I vividly recall was a royal blue skirt and a fuchsia pink shell, as we called it. And I went into work in the morning, dropped off my, did the thing with the dog, dropped off my kids at the daycare center or school, etc. I got into work, I sat down at my desk, and I just felt this emotion come over me and I started crying. And nothing had happened. And I just found myself crying. And then I found that I couldn't stop crying. And I didn't have any idea what was going on. I could feel myself, like trying to breathe, like, that kind of thing. And I literally just could not contain myself. Mm-hmm. And I walked into my boss's office, a woman, Suzanne Smart, and she looked at me, and here's what she did. What's happening here? Do you want me to call your mother or your husband? And that was, such a great, incredible thing that a woman boss offered me in that moment. So I happened to be working in a hospital at that time in one of the areas of administration, and I went to the nurse's office, and she said, "It seems like you're having an anxiety attack." And I ended up leaving that day, and I pretty much had what I call a little personal breakdown. And I ended up in bed for 10 days with no peripheral vision. And that was burnout. Honestly, that was burnout. I had been a type A in my career. I had progressed in an unexpected career that found me, which I loved. in fundraising for nonprofits. And over the time of working full time with kids in daycare, husband getting a PhD, etc., I grew and grew in my impact space, and then ended up wanting a part-time job, which there's no such thing for a working woman, as I'm sure you know, so that I could have more flexibility with my kids in school. They were school age by that time, I recall. And so I was working part-time slash full-time. I was being home part-time slash full-time. I was volunteering part-time slash full-time. I was being a daughter and family member and friend part-time slash full-time, right? That's a lot of full-time together. And all of that equation equaled burnout.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of the beginning of my story.
Mm-hmm. One, I think, thank you for sharing that first. I was struck right at the beginning in the details we remember sometimes about our lives, and like what we were wearing in that moment, or, what song was playing, or a scent that we smell, or something to that effect. And I think that just, it speaks wonders to our brain and in what we recall in those moments. And I think the piece that I was really drawn to about your story in this moment is that part-time slash full-time piece, because I know I have definitely been there, in volunteer roles, and, in giving, wanting to give back. So, I'm just going to do this for a couple hours a week. And it ended up being so much more than that. And I think that that's probably something our listeners can absolutely connect to as well.
Yeah, it's something that we women do.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we women do, Dr. Kate. And I will say, it's not that men don't do it, but I will say it's what we women do.
Mm-hmm.
And in the burnout recovery piece, that's the piece that I have come to. At some point after that situation, I did end up on anxiety medication for 7 years. I have been off it for more years. I don't even know how many years I've been off it now, but it served me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And in my own recovery from that was my what I call my journey to enlightenment. That to be rising in the light of the soul connection that was lost from what we women do to ourselves, and also what has been done to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the recovery piece, the burnout piece was clear. I was honestly do you say risen into anxiety?
Yeah.
Or did anxiety rise in me? I'm not sure. Um, Wanting to have it all, be it all, do it all at the same time. And now, as a mature woman in the second half of life, I help what I call our younger sisters understand that you can have it all, but it doesn't always work when it's all at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the important piece, is not everything can be full-time all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think I have, a lot of people will use the word balance when it comes to this. And I think it's more in line with harmony. In that, when you have a musical piece that's in harmony, that's harmonizing, it all kind of fits and blends together. There's that ebb and flow to it. And that has definitely been something that I have shifted more from, like, I'm trying to achieve balance, to I'm looking for some harmony in my life. And
Oh,
it sounds like that's something that you had experienced when you were coming out of your, when you were in your burnout recovery as well.
yeah, I'm looking off right now and feeling that time. I just want to say I love the idea of harmony. One of the things that I did sometime a little bit later was at that time in my downstairs bathroom of my home, I actually redecorated it a little bit to have it be a quiet, calm place. And I got a few organic prints, and one of them said harmony. Dr. Kate, I swear
Oh.
that's the truth. So I love the idea of harmony, and I'm going to be totally honest and say it took me years to achieve a state of harmony, by first understanding that thoughts are things, getting control of my thoughts, by second, letting go of old beliefs of mine that were mocking things like breathing and, tree hugging. And, now I call these the windows to the soul.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to come into harmony. But now every day when I wake up, harmony is what I am in. That doesn't mean it's perfection, but yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that honesty there from you, Susan, because I think it is important, and I know that as I have come into my own journey, I've had to do the same thing of letting go of some of the thoughts, and what some of us refer to as like woo stuff and those kind of things. And I was like, am I really woo? And I was like, I am. And it's also
I am.
important. I am.
Yeah.
And it has become, an important habit in my life and in my recovery. So I think I think about the listener who may have found their way here and was like, I don't know, this seems a little too much for me. And I think connecting with you in that appreciation that, oh, that's such a judgment that I've had on that piece, or, not considering, could this support me? Could this help me?
Yes, the idea of that judgment, and I did grow up in that, and there's ancestral legacy in that, and there's societal imprint on that, and there's family imposition on that. There's so much to say about all of this. But again, part of my recovery from burnout was my willingness to come out of my closed sense of self, my closed state of mind, and just exactly what you just said, which was go from judgment to curiosity and ask a question. Well, might there be something to that after all? Are crystals really infused with meaning? Do numbers really have symbolism? These kinds of things. Do colors show me something if I see it in a certain way? And here's what I want to say about that to those listeners who are on that journey, which I was on for years, Dr. Kate, and that is this: imagine the possibility. That's all. Imagine the possibility that you could feel better from having an idea or a visual enter into your experience and help you be in recovery in a harmonious existence with what? Yourself, which is your soul.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Mm.
And I know there are humans out there who needed to hear that right now in this moment. So, dear listener, if that is you, just take a moment and just take a breath and know that we've got you, and others have been in your space before, and the support is here for you.
Mm.
Susan, I'd love to hear some of the, you mentioned that kind of the length of time, and that you're in a very different place now than you were at the beginning. So what were some of the things that you did for yourself at the very beginning to start your journey?
Oh, yeah. Get your eye on the clock, Dr. Kate, because I got a lot to say. So you be the timekeeper and I will get started. In that year, and in that time, I had this thought, this deep yearning that started to rise in me, which was, this doesn't feel good. I want to feel better than this. This doesn't feel good. I just want to feel better than this. And I created this little visual of my hand, the knuckles of my hand, as a bridge that I could cross. And so I would hold my hand out in front of me with this tiny little few-inch bridge in front of me and say, if I could just get to the other side of that little bridge, that feels a little bit better. So this is simple. It's almost ridiculous, Dr. Kate, but when you're in when you're in burnout, when you're in that kind of stress, when you're in anxiety and in that depressive space, then these little things could work for you. These are visual images, which, as I just said, I began to create for myself and absorb. So that was one of the first things I did, was I changed that idea in my mind that of how crappy and all that meant that I was feeling, and all the feelings infused with that. and I crossed that little bridge.
Mm-hmm.
It was during that time that I started to listen to books of inspiration, which is why I now have a new podcast, which is a book show to interview women authors who inspire. Because in those days, to answer your question, Dr. Kate, I started listening to books that would inspire me to
Mm-hmm.
move into what I call the light, to move into the light from the darkness. And so I listened to them on a commute. In those days, it was audio tape, of course. And I listened to them on a commute over and over. That was another thing that I did. I also started writing, and then I actually started breathing.
Mm-hmm. I love I love that, and kind of keeping it to, I absolutely adore the visualization of the bridge, and just, just crossing your knuckles, and that short space, and knowing that on the other side is a better space. I think that
Mm.
that is, a tidbit that our listeners can definitely take with them, finding space and inspiration and stories of inspiration, and listening to those, utilizing that on your commute, and
Yes, and it's a
breathing.
big yes. It's a big yes. You can, if I could tell you the state of being that I was in at that time, in anxiety and being all that busyness that we just talked
Mhm.
about, and all that full-timeness, all the too muchness, and I could feel the energy right now. Now I feel energy. Then I was totally blocked.
Yeah.
But as part of the evolution of who I am today, I actually work in energy. I can feel energy, and I can feel it now. It came up. That's why I had to say that it's a yes, Dr. Kate. Yes, you can feel better.
Mhm.
Yes, you can move into recovery from burnout. Yes, this is possible. And maybe it could be a total immediate transformation, or maybe it will be a many year journey like mine was. Now I'm in transformation more easily
Mhm.
because I'm in more clarity, etc. But I would just want to say, you can. Yes, you can. I'm here. And Dr. Kate, we're here to let you know that. And also, if you open your mind and imagine the possibilities, that you can just not be closed in the tight, small, cramped box that you're in. So I
Mhm.
really felt that I wanted to really validate to people, yes, you can.
Yes, I absolutely so appreciate that. Susan, so we heard a little bit about where you started and the bridge that you created for yourself, and the piece that, yes, you can get into a recovery space. You can take those small steps. You can breathe into this and know it won't last forever. I think that that is so important. What are some things that you have incorporated into your life today that continue to support you in your resilience so you don't get back to a burnout experience?
Well, that question is unfortunately resonant with me, Dr. Kate. I've had a journey of 18 months that were so unexpected for me. The details aren't important because we all have these experiences, but the word resiliency is what is relevant here, because when I looked for and found tools and methods to support myself, as we already discussed, and then I created habits of those things, which also very much included exercise and being out in nature for me. Then, when the stuff of life happened to me along the way, and especially over the past year and a half or so, I had tools to call on to bring me back, bring me back, bring me back, or AKA move me forward, forward,
Mhm.
forward. And so resiliency comes from these good habits that we create, these deep desires that we set in our mind. I work in the idea still in the realm of thoughts, in
Mhm.
terms of affirmations and intentions, but now I really work in the realm of the soul. And so that's the answer, that your soul is my business. That's really it. I feel the energy of people's souls now. I also work with my own soul, and I know when I'm ungrounded and disconnected, and I know what I want to do to move forward again
Mhm.
in groundedness and in what I call soul connection.
Yeah. I so appreciate that. I want to highlight the piece you said about your recognition of when you are not feeling, when you've lost your groundedness.
Mm.
And I'm sure that some of our listeners have experienced this or maybe wondering like, what does that look like? So for you, Susan, what are some of the indicators for yourself that you are in ungroundedness?
Yeah, this is so important. Thank you for asking, and let's get to this. For me, it's funny, but one of the ways that I know is my fingernails.
Mm.
Honestly, when my cuticles are all chewed up, I'm chewing and they're cut up or, dry or whatever. I don't know how this started, but my nails are a physical and visual representation of how I'm feeling. So I know that's a strange thing, but that's just one of the things that shows it to me in real time when I'm like, "Oh my gosh, look at my nails. I see what's happening here."
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Another thing is when I'm unclear, when I cannot feel energy, when I am in an ungrounded state. And I know this very quickly now that I'm feeling in unclarity. That might be as bad as mind fog,
Mm-hmm.
where I can't make a decision. I'm having trouble with choices. I don't know, what feels right to me right now. And then all of this leads to becoming sedentary.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I know that I'm in an ungrounded state of being when I lose the good practices, which, we are human.
Yes.
So the good news about losing them is you can always find them
You
again
can add
and
them back.
always,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. And so these would be some of the ways that
Mhm.
I know if I'm sedentary, if I'm eating badly, if I haven't connected in human, voice connection with
Mhm.
people I love for a while, if my dog hasn't been walked enough, all of these things show me, oh, I'm in ungroundedness. And then what do I want to do right now to
Mhm.
get soul connected again, to really honor my physical body and my mental well being and my soul state of being? So, those are some of the ways.
Yeah. I I have definitely heard similar things from clients, and I know for myself that I experience like the brain fog and kind of the inability to make decisions, even like the simplest thing, like just deciding like what am I going to have for lunch or dinner
Mm,
is the hardest thing to come up with. So I just throw random things in a bowl and eat that kind
yes.
of piece. So I think that I've definitely heard like nails and biting of cuticles and those kinds of things. And I think that slow slide into that sedentary piece are really indicators that I have heard from others and that I've experienced, and that we've heard from you that you experience in kind of that ungroundedness, and that you may be experiencing some burn events as I talk about, and in thinking about, okay, how do I get myself back to that harmony space, that recovery space, that grounded space?
Mm. I mean, I love what you've done with burn events, Dr. Kate. I've learned this from you. I've listened to you. I've kind of begun to absorb the idea of burn events. And burn events for someone might be the unexpected loss of their mother, as
Yeah.
I did, even though she was older. It was extremely unexpected a few months ago. The big burn event of something, like that. Or it may be something very small, because big and small is it's not relevant in
Right.
that area of soul. So I just really do want to say that I love what you're doing and really helping educate and edify us about burn events, because it makes them events that we can, address.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. I
Hmm.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I am so loving our conversation, and I know our listeners are too. And if you are enjoying the conversation, make sure that you subscribe and follow and share this with someone who you think needs to hear it today. It was brought to you, and now we would love for you to give forward and share it with someone else who may need to also hear the message. Susan, before we wrap up with the recovery moment, I would love to have you share what is one piece of advice that you would like to offer to our listeners?
Yeah. The one thing also are words that I learned about being present. It's one affirmation. It's one simple 3-word affirmation, here and now. Here and now. That's it. I want to invite people, if you're feeling in the burnout, if you're having a burn event, if you're in stress, worry, anxiety, to come in close to where your heart space is, your soul is deep down in there. Come into here and now and practice using this affirmation to just come to the moment, because this moment can serve you, and then you can go into the next moment. So that's the best thing, one of the other early things that served me.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And as a practitioner and, fan of Carl Rogers and, person-centered theory, and the here and now is such an important piece to that. And, and not being in the worry or guilt of the past or the anxiety of the future, but really grounding yourself in the present space and, connecting to where you're at in the here and now. Thank you so much for that, Susan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where can our audience members find out more about you?
Well, they can find me by downloading the KS Media Group app. I am there along with Dr. Kate and so many other influencers right now who are committed to your well-being, your spiritual groundedness, and to the new earth. So it's KS Media Group. You can download it, you can join with your email, and then you can find me and Dr. Kate and many other influencers there. Dr. Kate, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you. Please, please keep doing what you're doing. It's so, so important.
Well, thank you, Susan. And it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
How amazing was our guest, Susan Axelrod. I've always so love and appreciate getting to chat with her. And I always leave with, something of great value. And I hope you did as well, dear listeners. We are going to end today's podcast with, of course, our recovery moment. So I want to make sure that you are in a safe space in order to do that. And we today, since this is just before the new year, and even though we talked about the here and now and the importance of that, so is reflection and reflecting and guiding and manifesting in regard to a positive future. So as we move into the new year, this recovery moment is in regard to reflection on a positive future. So remember to make sure that you're in a safe space. And if that's not where you're at right now, go ahead and come back to me when you can relax a little bit more and listen fully, or listen to it now and come back and do the reflection later. But let's begin by taking a moment to allow your body to settle. Find a comfortable position, one that allows your spine to be long, but with a natural curve in the low back. You can close your eyes or keep them open with a soft gaze downward a few feet in front of you. Let the belly and shoulders relax. Today, I'll guide you through a practice to envision a positive future. It is a chance to connect with that place inside us that wants to work toward a life of meaning and fulfillment. This is a useful way to consider how we care for ourselves and others, and how to show up at our best to meet life's challenges. Before we start, take a full breath in and a long breath out. Now allow the breath to find its natural rhythm, in and out, in and out, allowing yourself to be fully present, resting on the breath. I'll provide you with questions to prompt ideas and responses that can help to find a positive future. Throughout this practice, let your body and mind feel loose and open. Repeat the questions I offer silently and to yourself. Resist the urge to problem solve and see if anything comes up on its own organically. If nothing comes to mind, you can always continue to rest your attention on the breath until something comes up. Let's begin. Ask yourself, what kind of future do I feel deeply moved towards? Notice the thoughts, feelings, and images that come to mind. Remembering to breathe, breathing in and breathing out. As you hold this positive future in your mind, what feelings are present? Here's some more questions to help explore the future you feel deeply moved towards. How can I show up in a way that will allow this positive future to unfold? How can I show up fully for the opportunities that I encounter? Who do I want to be in relation to others? What might get in the way, and how will I move beyond it? What are the skills or capabilities that I'll need to get there? How might practice support this future? See yourself right now, somewhere in this positive future, and reflect on the things you did that enabled you to get there. See yourself doing some of those things. Maybe it's spending time with family. Maybe it's engaging in a daily practice that supports clarity and focus. Maybe it's putting your energy into new learning skills. Or maybe it's how you allow yourself to connect with others. See those things in your mind's eye and notice what it feels like as you imagine doing them. You can come back to this meditation at any time to rediscover connection to that place inside that's ready to create that positive future. We all have the ability to improve our lives and the lives of those around us. Can you take this feeling with you as you head back to your day? Can you allow it to guide you, to guide how you interact with your world now? Let's finish this positive practice now by taking a full breath in and a long breath out. One more long breath in and a full releasing breath out. And as you're ready, and if you've closed your eyes, allow them to open and come back to the present space, taking in your surroundings and taking with you the reflection of your positive future and the creation of that. Remember, for more recovery moments, you can follow me at Dr. Kate Steiner on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to the From Burnout to Recovery Show YouTube channel. I am so grateful for our guest, Susan Axelrod. Remember that you can find both of us on the KS Media Group app in your app store. Download the app, create your account. I'm grateful for each of you to be listening to me today. Thank you for joining us today on the From Burnout to Recovery Show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Kate, and I wish you peace on your journey. Thank you for joining me on the front porch today. Remember to download your free Burnout to Recovery reflection journal on my website, drkatesteiner.com. Be well, my friends. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Kate, on the From Burnout to Recovery show, where you are starting your journey to burnout recovery. You are invited to join me on the front porch every second and fourth Friday of the month on transformationtalkradio.com to continue growing in resilience and integrating recovery into your daily life. If you would like to learn more or find out how to work with me, visit liftwellnessconsulting.com.